If you've already decided that Tampa Bay is the right move, and now you're staring at 3 towns north of this city trying to figure out whether Wesley Chapel, Land O'Lakes, or Odessa fits your ideal lifestyle, stay with me, this video's for you. Because that stretch of Pasco County added 18,000 people last year, number 2 in the whole state of Florida for growth and 16th in the country. And almost everyone assumes they know why. They think it's a hot market up there. Cheap land, builders going nuts, everybody's piling in to get a deal before the door closes. But what we're seeing is something really different. So I pulled the actual sales number from Pasco County. June just came out, and that's not what the numbers are saying. June single-family home sales closed down over 10%, and the median price was $390,000, up about 1.3% from last year at the same time. And here's what else is interesting. Home sales up there are down almost 11% from a year ago. Fewer homes are selling, not more. But prices didn't fall. They went up 1.5%. And there's less homes for sale sitting on the market than there was a year ago, not more. So read that with me, because that's really the whole video. If North Tampa were a gold rush, everybody piling in and chasing a deal, you'd see sales volume through the roof. It's down double digits. And if the place were losing its shine, you'd see prices sliding and homes stacking up. But we're seeing the opposite. Prices firmed and inventory tightened. That's fewer people trading houses, prices holding, and 18,000 more people living there. It's not a frenzy, that's the churn leaving and people staying. And when a market goes quiet and a place keeps filling up anyways, the folks moving there know something that the data doesn't show and that you can't find on Google. So that's what we're gonna be doing today. And by the end, you're gonna be able to sort these 3 towns, all 3 in about a minute. And here's why I care about getting this right for you. We've helped over 200 families make the exact same move you're considering. And the ones who struggled almost every single time, it was the same thing. They focused on the wrong thing. People will start on Zillow or Redfin or Realtor.com. They fall in love with the floor plan. They got a great price per square foot. And then 18 months in, they realized the house was fine and the community did not match their lifestyle. And I say this a lot, and I'm going to keep saying it. Finding a house is the easy part. Finding a community that matches your ideal lifestyle, that's the hard one. And here's how you know that's true. If I handed you and your spouse $3 million each and I said, design your dream home from scratch, every finish, every square inch designed by you, and we dropped it in the wrong community, you'd still hate it. And that's because the house was never the hard part. And if you're new here, welcome. My name is Juan Alcala, and 7 years ago, my wife Kate and I packed up our family of 5, sold almost everything we owned, and moved 1,200 miles south here to the Tampa Bay area, where we've been loving it ever since. So I know what this decision feels like. I've had the 2 a.m. did we make a huge mistake conversation. And I'm also a data guy. Show me the numbers and we'll work in reverse. But I've lived the part the numbers don't cover. And look, I'm gonna give you my honest take on this, including where I think each one of these 3 places is weak, because you don't wanna have to move twice. And here's a little fun fact about me. In 15 years of helping people buy and sell homes, I've never had a client have to move twice. And I'm super proud of that stat. And if you're wondering why that matters to you, because it shows when you focus on what truly matters, not just the house, you get it right the first time. Now let's dig into what is driving all the growth up in Pasco County. All right, so let's start where almost every family I talk to starts, schools. And I want to share a piece of information that's only 3 weeks old, because Florida just released its new school grades on July 1st. Pasco County earned an A rating, the first time since 2010. I pulled the state's own file and then went back through the history. 15 straight years of B's and C's. Then, in 2025, they got their A. For context, Hillsborough County, where Tampa is, and Pinellas County, where St. Pete and Clearwater is, they also earned an A rating. So the entire Tampa Bay area is trending in a very positive direction. And the reason I share that with you is because so often when people come to me, they start with, I've heard that Florida schools are terrible. And let me just shoot it to you straight. There are some terrible schools in the area, and there are some amazing schools in the area. And I don't know what it's like where you live. I know a lot of people, when they move, they are assigned a school based upon a zip code. Here in Florida, we are a school of choice. So not only Is your district rating important, but you still have options outside of that? Just because you live in a specific zip code, it doesn't mean that you are bound to that for eternity. So if you want a better opportunity, it's still available to you. And I love that about Florida. And as I was going through all this information, here's the number that got my attention. Pasco County's 4-year graduation rate is 97%, tied for third highest out of all 67 counties in the state of Florida. Pinellas is 93 and Hillsborough is 91. Now let me name some of the actual schools because context is always king. In Wesley Chapel, Wiregrass Ranch High School got an A. Wesley Chapel High School also received an A. Cypress Creek High School, A. Dr. John Long Middle School, A. Land O'Lakes Sun Lake High School, A. Land O'Lakes High School received an A. Starkey Ranch K through 8, A. Love that area, by the way. Skybrook K through 8, A. Odessa Steinbrenner High School, A. Martinez Middle School, A. And Hammond Elementary all received an A. Every zone high school across all 3 of these towns is an A rating. Wesley Chapel High School actually climbed from a B to an A this year. But, and this is me just being honest with you, because you can check this for yourself in about 4 minutes, not all A's are the same. In Florida, a high school needs 65% of possible points to earn an A rating. Wiregrass Ranch, Wesley Chapel, and Cypress Creek all came in at exactly 65, meaning they're sitting right on that line. Meanwhile, over in Odessa, Steinbrenner High School came in at 74 and Martinez Middle came in at 83. And that's a real gap between 2 schools that both get called A-rated. And no one's gonna tell you that when you're looking at Zillow or Realtor.com in a listing description, right? And another interesting one that I found, Bexley Elementary is a B, 61%, 1 point under the A cutoff. And Bexley is one of the nicest, most in-demand communities in Land O'Lakes. So if somebody tells you everything up there is A-rated, they haven't looked. Okay, now here's the part I think actually matters more than any of the grades. And I almost never hear anybody talk about it. You know how in a lot of states, if you don't love your zone school, you just apply somewhere else. Florida has that and it's called open enrollment. It's a state law and every district offers it. Except Pasco publishes something called the frozen school list. When a school hits 90% of its projected capacity, it gets frozen, meaning it cannot accept a single student through school choice. So let me read you who's frozen for this coming school year. And before I do that, if you want a copy of all of my research, just reach out to me and let me know. If you look down below in the description, you'll see my email address. Just shoot me an email titled Pasco Schools and I will send it your way. So here's the Pasco frozen school list for 2026-2027. The high schools are Wiregrass Ranch, Wesley Chapel, Cypress Creek, Land O'Lakes, Sun Lake, Kirkland Ranch. For middle schools, you've got Dr. John Long and Waitman. For elementary K through 8, you've got Wiregrass, Double Branch, Watergrass, Odessa, Starkey Ranch K through 8, and Kirkland Ranch K through 8. And that's all of them. Every zone high school in Wesley Chapel, Land O'Lakes, and Pasco side of Odessa are frozen. Plus Starkey Ranch K through 8, and most of the elementaries that families are asking me about. So what does that actually mean for you in plain English? You can't apply your way into one of these schools. The address is actually the ticket right now. If you want Wiregrass Ranch or Sun Lake or Starkey Ranch K through 8, you buy inside of that boundary. There's no back door. There's no we'll figure it out after we close. And this is a big change from previous years. And I really want to be careful here. I'm not telling you to rush. I'm telling you because it flips the order of operation on your whole search. Most people find the house, then they check the school. But up here, you have to do it backwards. Boundary first, then house second. This may be very familiar to where you live now. We move a lot of clients from the Northeast or New York or the Midwest, and they are assigned schools by their zip code. So this is very normal to them. Now that's one of the things that I mean when I say communities are hard. You can change the house, you can renovate the kitchen, you can add a pool, but the schools your kids walk into on the first day of 9th grade is decided by a line on the map that somebody drew before you got here. And that's the one that you don't get to fix later unless you're choosing private or you're homeschooling. And I hope this is really helpful because this is really the whole ball game if schools are your priority. And check the boundary for your exact address, not the zip code. I'll put Pasco's boundary lookup in the description down below, and I'll include it in my research if you want a copy of that. So be careful because the zip codes can lie. They straddle everything. So that's the schools, and honestly that's the reason most families start looking north in the first place. But here's where it gets interesting, because the second thing on every single list I get is safety. And the honest answer to that one is a little weirder than you would expect. Okay, so right about now you're probably thinking, just tell me the crime rate in Wesley Chapel. I can't, and I want to explain why, because the reason is actually useful to you. Wesley Chapel, Land O'Lakes, and Odessa are all unincorporated, which means technically they're not cities. There's no Wesley Chapel City Hall, no Wesley Chapel Mayor, and this is the part that matters, no Wesley Chapel Police Department. And no, that doesn't mean you don't have access to police enforcement, it's just different. So I went and checked the FBI's list of every law enforcement agency in Pasco County. It's the sheriff's office and then the police departments in Port Richey, Newport Richey, Zephyr Hills, and Dade City. That's it. The whole rest of the county, including all three of these places, is patrolled by Pasco County sheriffs. So any website showing you Wesley Chapel crime rate is showing you a computer model, not reported crime. And those sites are estimating. And you can tell they're estimating because when I pulled two of the big ones for the same town in the same year, their numbers were off from each other by about 60%. So let's use real numbers instead. Here's what the Pasco County Sheriff's Office actually reported to the FBI. Violent crime, 60% lower than the city of Tampa. Property crime is 63% lower. And against the national numbers, 51% and 69% lower respectively. And here's why I actually like this number better than a Wesley Chapel specific one would be. That's the whole county, every part of it, including the older, lower income stretches out west that nobody watching this video is moving to. The sheriff's number is dragged down by areas that aren't Wesley Chapel, and statistically speaking, it's still 60% better than the city of Tampa. So that's the floor, not a marketing number, the floor. Now, honest uncertainty, because I'd rather you hear it from me. The 2025 numbers actually went up. Pasco sheriffs reported violent crimes rose about 23%, property went up about 19%, in a year when Florida and the country both went down. And here's my honest take, and here's where I'm less sure. Pasco only switched over to the newer, more detailed federal reporting system in January of 2022. And when agencies make that switch, their numbers often look like they're climbing for a few years because they're capturing more of what's always happening. And I don't know which one this is, and I'm not going to pretend like I do. What I can tell you is even at the 2025 numbers, Pasco is still 35% below the city of Tampa on violent crimes. And one last thing on safety, and this one's just funny. You'll see the safest cities in Florida list, and none of these three ever show up. And that's not because they scored badly, they're not eligible. Because you can't submit a city crime report to the FBI when you don't have a city or a police department. They were never in the running to begin with. So here's what I take from all of this. You're not gonna find a clean official Wesley Chapel specific safety number because it doesn't exist. What you're gonna find is the agency that actually patrols your streets, reporting real numbers, 60% under the city of Tampa, and then you're gonna do the thing that actually answers the question, which is when you come visit, go stand in the neighborhood at 7 p.m. on a Tuesday and watch whether people are out, running, walking their dogs, and kids are on bikes. Because the reality is I never once had a family tell me that the statistics made them feel safe. Standing in the neighborhood actually did. And I also want to share with you from a local's perspective, if I were to move to the suburbs away from the beach where we live, I wouldn't have any issues raising my family in Land O'Lakes, Wesley Chapel, or Odessa. As a matter of fact, those would be areas that we would target because of the quality of lifestyle, because of how safe those communities are, in my opinion, and the access to education. So we've covered schools and safety, and those are the two everybody expects. But the third one is where people genuinely get blindsided, and it doesn't show up until November after you close. All right, now let's get into what things actually cost and the money involved in moving to these areas. $192 to $218 a square foot in Wesley Chapel. And if we compare that to areas like South Tampa, where you're gonna be paying like $364 to almost $600 a square foot, it's a big difference. So if you look at just the sticker price of housing, North Tampa is roughly 2 to 3 times cheaper per square foot than South Tampa would be. And that's a real savings. Now, it also might be the best fit for your lifestyle. So both of those things can't be true at the same time. And another benefit is the property tax rate is lower too. Pasco's rate is meaningfully less than Hillsborough counties. And I want to talk about the homestead exemption because not everybody's familiar with those things. In the state of Florida, If your primary home is here, the state knocks off a chunk of the valuation of that home, which will reduce your property taxes annually. You file it once and it follows the house as long as you live there. So on a $500,000 home, as a married couple, you would receive a $50,000 reduction on your appraised value of that home. If you were single, it would be $25,000. And what does that mean? Well, they take the taxable value of that property and they multiply that towards the millage rate. The way that I always explain this to everybody is if you're looking at areas like Pasco County, figure somewhere between 1.7% and 1.8% of the property's assessed value. That's essentially what your tax rate is going to be. It changes. Usually on a $500,000 asset, you're going to pay roughly about $10,000 a year to own that home between taxes and your CDD fee, if you have one. If you don't have a CDD, which is a community development district fee, because you're not in a master plan community or a newer development, then you would reduce that by anywhere from $2,500 to as much as $4,000 annually. So those things do really make up big differences. And the property tax rate is genuinely lower too. Pasco's rate is meaningfully under Hillsborough County. So quick translation, if you're new to Florida, homestead exemption just means that if your primary home, meaning the one that you live in most of the year, the state knocks a chunk off the value that they tax you on. You file once and it follows the house. So it's basically as long as you live there as your primary residence. So on a $500,000 home with that exemption, so you're looking at somewhere around $7,700 a year annually in Pasco versus about $8,400 in unincorporated Hillsborough County, and about $9,100 inside the city of Tampa proper. And that's great. You have a lower price per square foot on the property, you have a lower tax rate, and it sounds like a slam dunk. But here's the thing. Then you get your first tax bill in November and there's a second number on it. It's called a CDD, or Community Development District. And if you're coming from the Northeast or the Midwest, you probably have never seen one of these in your life. And let me translate, because the name tells you absolutely nothing. When a developer builds one of these big master plan communities, the roads, the sewer lines, the clubhouse, the pool, the trails, the lagoon, somebody has to pay for all of that up front. So Florida lets the developer create basically what is a tiny special purpose government for that neighborhood. It borrows the money, builds the infrastructure, and then you pay it back on your property tax bill every year. And there's two components to that CDD fee, which is the part that most people miss. There's the debt component that is paying off the bond that built everything. A bond is the money that they borrowed. And that number is fixed. It runs about 30 years. It can be 25 years as well. And here's what's great. In a lot of these districts, you can pay that number off early if you wish. Heck, we've negotiated it inside of purchase agreements. And then there's the operations side. And that's the mowing, maintaining, staffing, running the amenity center. And that number is never going to go away. And it gets revoted on every single year. So what are we actually talking about in dollars? And these are straight out of the district's own adopted budgets for 2026. Let's start with Starkey Ranch, one of the most beautiful communities in the whole region. And I love it there. Their fee runs anywhere from $3,000 to $4,200 a year on top of your annual tax bill. And remember, I said the operation half gets revoted every single year. Estancia at Wiregrass went up 30% this year. That's 1 year. Some homeowners saw their assessment jump about $1,500 because the district added a line for the amenity center. And Watergrass raised their operations budget almost 10% in the same year. So now let's put it all together and show you the math that you don't see on the listing on Zillow. North Tampa's property tax rate is going to be lower, but your total annual bill is usually higher. Now I'm sharing this with you not to talk you out of it, but because I want to be clear and I want to make sure that you are not surprised by these quote unquote hidden fees, because they're not hidden if you know about them. And that money bought something. It bought the lagoon, it bought the trail system that maybe you love, maybe it bought the park or the clubhouse. You're gonna have the birthday parties with the kids and hang out with the family. It bought the roads that you're gonna use for decades. And when you compare that to South Tampa, where you're not paying a CDD, you're also not getting a 14-acre lagoon in your backyard or at the end of your street. So these are the things that are a lot different. And that's the trade-off. And honestly, plenty of families are happy to make it. But I want to make sure that you're making that decision on purpose. It's not a surprise. And with the number in front of you, not finding out in November. And here's a related one that trips up almost every Northeast buyer that I talk to. You're gonna look at Florida HOA dues and think we're insane. Starkey Ranch's Master Association is $75 a year, not a month. A year. And you're gonna go, wait, my HOA in Jersey is $600 a month. What's the catch? The truth is there is no catch. The amenity money is just moved. It's all in the tax bill instead of your HOA invoice. You're not comparing apples to apples, you're looking at the same expense wearing a different hat. So when you're comparing communities in the North Tampa suburbs, always ask for the CDD number and the HOA number together. Or you're gonna badly misjudge which one is actually cheaper or provides the value that you're looking for. And one more thing about costs, and this one's actually good news. Almost everything up here was built after 2002, which means it was built under the new Florida building code. Hip roofs, tie downs, water resistant barriers, and rated windows. And that matters for your homeowner's insurance more than almost anything else. The state's own rate comparison shows that the identical older home in Pasco adding wind mitigation features cuts the typical premium by almost 46%. Nearly cuts your insurance cost in half. New construction is basically wind mitigation from the factory. And the 13-year-old roof problem, where Florida insurers don't have to write a new policy on a roof older than 13 years, mostly hasn't hit up there yet because most of these roofs aren't even close to being that old. So that's what it costs, but none of it matters if you can't actually get where you're going. And that's the part where these towns stop being interchangeable, and this is where you have to start sorting them. Okay, so here's what I really wanted to get to. Everybody tries to lump these three together, North Tampa, like it's one place, and it's really not. And the thing that separates them isn't the house or the schools, it's the direction that you're gonna have to drive if you don't work remote. Wesley Chapel sits right off of I-75. Lando Lakes and Odessa sit on the Suncoast Parkway and the Veterans Expressway. These are two completely different highways, and they trade places depending on where you're headed. If you're going downtown, Wesley Chapel wins. Barely, but it does win. If you're going to the airport or to the West Shore, which is where a huge share of Tampa's office jobs usually are, Lando Lakes or Odessa is gonna win by about 8 miles every day, both directions. And that's not a small thing. That's 10 to 15 minutes of your life twice a day forever. And right about now, you're probably thinking, okay, so the west side is just better. Well, not quite, because there's still a bill attached. If you live in Wesley Chapel and you use I-75, you're gonna pay $0 in tolls. Lando Lakes and Odessa on the toll roads, they're about $2.30 each way. Call it $460 round trip, or roughly $1,100 a year if you're commuting daily. And if you don't get the Sun Pass, it's another $400 on top of that every year. So make sure you get that Sun Pass. It's just gonna make your life a heck of a lot more convenient anyways. So here's the actual trade. Wesley Chapel is cheaper to drive. Lando Lakes and Odessa are more reliable to drive. Typically, they're going to be shorter and a lot less stress when you're on those roads. Because I-75 southbound in the morning between State Road 56 and Bruce B. Downs, this is a choke point. It's a natural choke point coming into the city. And that's what turns a 30-minute drive into a 50-minute drive really quick. And the state has been rebuilding that corridor for about a decade. They've added a new interchange at Overpass Road. There's a diverging diamond on State Road 56 because the demand keeps outrunning that road. The Suncoast is a toll road. It's got way fewer places for it to fall apart, and that's what your $1,100 is really buying. It's not necessarily just buying less distance, it's buying the predictability. And someone who buys in Starkey Ranch, who lives 30 miles out, will regularly beat the person who lives 25 miles out from West Shore on a Thursday evening. And that's the real thing that happens that you gotta really focus on. And this is why I said at the top, McDill Air Force is roughly 27 to 34 miles from all three of these areas. It's gonna be anywhere from 40 minutes to 55 minutes before traffic. And there's really no version of where that's a good daily commute. And if that's your household, this whole corridor is probably gonna be the wrong answer, and I'd rather you know it now. I would look a little bit further south at areas like Carrollwood and West Chase. These are gonna be far more desirable in terms of lifestyle and commute times to work. All right, so let me give you the sorting tool. This is the thing I'd actually walk you through if we were on a Zoom call together. And speaking of that Zoom call, if you have more questions, do not hesitate to reach out to me and the team. All of my contact information is down below. As a matter of fact, there's a link to my calendar where you can schedule that call at your convenience. Okay, so sorting these. Let's start with Wesley Chapel. The most house for the money, $192 to $282 a square foot. The most new construction, still actively selling. The Wiregrass Town Center, the Sports Campus, Center Ice, the Lagoons, shortest run to downtown. You're on I-75, and you're paying for that in traffic, not in toll cost. And this is going to be your pick if you want maximum house and maximum amenities per dollar, and your commute isn't every single day. Next is Lando Lakes. This is kind of that balance point. Best schools of the three on paper, Sun Lake is a 71, Starkey Ranch K through 8 is a 79, and the brand new Skybrook is also a 79. Best access to the airport and West Shore, priced right in the middle. You're gonna trade about $1,100 a year in tolls for a road that behaves. And this is your pick if somebody in your house drives to the West Shore or the airport regularly. And what about Odessa? And this is the area that didn't really boom like Wesley Chapel and Lando Lakes have. And I mean that literally. Between 2010 and 2020, Wesley Chapel grew 47% and Odessa only grew by 11%. Now, it has the highest household income of the three. It has the highest home values. The median sales price is around $725,000. But you've got acre lots, private lakes, horses. The Hillsborough side of this area is legally protected under something called the Keystone Community Plan, which is specifically designed to keep it that way, meaning that you're gonna have a lot of green space out there. And the schools over there, Steinbrenner is a 74, Martinez Middle, 83. They're the best in the entire conversation. And here's that reframe on Odessa, and I think it's one of the most useful things in this video. Odessa is the anti-growth story that gets to sit right next to the growth story. Same hospitals, same jobs, same Wiregrass, same outlets, same airport access that's actually closer to the airport than Wesley Chapel is. It just hasn't had the same growth, and the people who have lived there have gone to court to keep it that way. And you pay for that, $274 a square foot for a property as opposed to $192. That premium isn't just buying you a nicer house, it's buying you fewer neighbors. And whether it's worth it is a you question, not a market question. I can't answer that for you. Nobody can, only you. So let's come back to where we started. Sales volume down 11%. Prices up and the inventory is tightening. And why is this still happening? Two numbers. Number one, Pasco County added 18,326 people last year. Of that, 18,078 came from domestic migration, meaning people moving in from somewhere else in this county. That's wild when you think about it. Number two, and this is the one that stopped me. Pasco's natural population change last year was negative 1,405 residents. And that's because more people left us than there were births last year. And here's what that really means. Pasco County would be shrinking right now if it weren't for people choosing to move here. Every bit of growth, every single person is a decision someone has made. Someone sat at their kitchen table in Ohio, New Jersey, or New York and decided. And they kept deciding it while home sales started to slow down, which tells you the growth was never a trading story because nobody's flipping their way into school boundaries. And that's the part that puts a real number on the value. The median single family home in Pasco County sold for $390,000 in June of 2026. Across the whole Tampa Bay area, the median was $425,000. So you're still buying about $35,000 under the metro prices. And unlike a year ago, that number's now starting to climb with everybody else instead of lagging. And here's the numbers if you want to see them. Pasco County has 674,000 people in it. Hillsborough County has 1.57 million, more than twice as many. And last year, Pasco pulled 44% more single family home building permits than Hillsborough County did. Per person, that's 3.5 times more than Hillsborough County's rate and 6 times more than Pinellas County. And 2026 numbers are running ahead of 2025's numbers. So what are they actually moving here for? It's the stuff that we just walked through, stacked in one place. Talking about A-rated school district with a 97% graduation rate, a sheriff's crime rate that is 60% under the city of Tampa, homes at half the price per square foot than South Tampa, built to modern code, and then the stuff that isn't on anybody's spreadsheet. Moffitt Cancer Center opened their $1 billion Sparrows campus up there. They started treating patients in January, a hospital in Wesley Chapel that just opened in 2023, another that just finished expanding. Pasco tied for the fastest job growth of any large county in Florida last year, a sports campus with 16 volleyball courts, a 5-sheet ice complex in Florida, 18,000 acres of preserved and 42 miles of paved trails. And Pasco somehow has both the first man-made lagoon in America and the largest one. And that's the answer. It's not just the house, it's the quality of life. And I'll be honest with you, the houses are kind of ordinary. A lot of them are the same 6 floor plans, because what people are actually buying is a Saturday where the kids have somewhere to be, a hospital 15 minutes away, a school you don't have to worry about, and a street where people wave. Okay, so where does this leave you? And the thing I hope you take away from this isn't that Wesley Chapel or Orlando Lakes or Odessa is the answer. It's that these places are genuinely different bets. And the thing that makes them different isn't just the house, it's your commute, your school boundary, and how many neighbors you really want. If you drive the West Shore, Orlando Lakes. If you want the most house and the most for your kids to do, Wesley Chapel. If you want an acre and quiet, and you can pay for it, Odessa. And if you drive to MacDill, none of these are probably your best option, and I'm glad you're figuring that out now. So here's what I'd actually do this week if I were in your shoes. 1, I would pull up Pasco's school boundary tool. I'll make sure the link is in the description, but that will also be included in all of my research. And put in the exact addresses you've been browsing online. Not the zip code, the actual address. Find out which school it actually feeds and check it against the frozen list. 2, for any community you're serious about, ask for the CDD number and the HOA number together in writing before you fall in love with any house. 3, open up Google Maps, drop a pin on the community and route it to wherever you'll actually be driving. At 7:30 on a Tuesday morning and at 5:15 on a Tuesday evening. Not right now at 2 p.m. when it looks great. Do it at the times that will actually be in your life. That's it. Those 3 things. And you can start them tonight after you put the kids down. Because making great decisions about relocation isn't just about squeezing out the lowest price per square foot on a home. It's about not spending the next 10 years stuck in a place that wasn't the right fit to begin with. And if you're trying to figure out which of these communities actually matches your ideal lifestyle, not just the house that fits your budget, that's exactly what we do. There's a link in the description down below. We'll jump on Zoom. I'll ask you a bunch of questions about your actual life so I can see the world through your eyes, and we'll figure it out together and help you build a plan that actually gets you to your goal. And if you've gotten any value out of today's video, don't hesitate to hit that like button. We put out videos like this every week because the decision is too big to get it wrong. So subscribe so you don't miss the ones that actually matter to your move. I'm also going to put 2 more videos up here about the area. That way you can really start to dial it in. And as always, until next time, go out and live that Tampa life.